In the world of martial arts, few names carry as much weight as Bruce Lee. But beneath the surface of his legendary status lies a shocking truth about the extreme methods that forged his extraordinary abilities. Today, we're pulling back the curtain on the dangerous and revolutionary training techniques that made Bruce Lee a legend. At just 135 pounds, Bruce Lee possessed strength that seemed to defy physics. His power-to-weight ratio was extraordinary, leading many to question how someone so lean could generate such explosive force. The answer lies in training methods so intense that they would make modern fitness experts nervous. Historical clips of Lee training.
I said, empty your mind. Be formless, shapeless, like water. Now you put water into a cup, it becomes the cup. You put water into a bottle, it becomes the bottle. You put it in a teapot, it becomes the teapot. Now water can flow or it can crash. Be water, my friend.
Lee broke away from traditional martial arts doctrine in a controversial move that would change combat sports forever. While other martial artists avoided weight training, believing it would make them slow and inflexible, Lee embraced it. With a twisted innovation that was uniquely his own. Lee's training philosophy was built on 4 dangerous pillars. 1. Maximum force generation through extreme isometrics. 2nd, explosive speed training at the edge of human capability. 3. Unconventional strength development. 4th, brutal endurance conditioning. But what made these methods truly revolutionary was how he combined them into a single, punishing system. Demonstration of isometric exercises. One of Lee's most controversial methods was his revolutionary approach to isometric training, pushing the boundaries of what many thought possible. He would spend grueling hours pushing against immovable objects with maximum force, attempting to engage every single muscle fiber in his body. This technique, while remarkably effective for building strength.
Well, this brings up something. You were in one of Bruce Lee's great movies.
Return of the Dragon.
Return of the Dragon. Yeah. And this is a famous, famous fight scene that you had with Bruce Lee.
I still consider it a classic.
It holds up. I watched it today, and you know they've advanced fight scenes so much, but this really holds up. It's an amazing fight scene.
Well, I think the main reason Bruce was really ahead of his time. And I worked out with Bruce Lee, and I worked out for 3 years. That's when I held the world title. And then he went to Hong Kong to pursue his movie career, did a couple of movies, very successful. So he called me up and said, you know, I want to do a movie with a fight scene that everyone will remember called Return of the Dragon. He said, would you come over and do the fight scene with me? I said, well, do I have to lose? He says, yeah, you have to lose. So I said, all right. So I went over there, and you know, I'd seen his first 2 movies. I said, you know, the guys you fight don't even have a chance. I mean, they don't even touch you, you know. And he said, no, we'll make this a seesaw battle. And so we made it fight back and forth, and it became a classic.
That was unusual at the time, because in that fight scene, you knock him down a few times, and it's pretty close, and he didn't allow that, did he?
No, I was the only one ever to really do that, you know, fighting. But again, you know, he respected me because of my ability as a world champion at the time.
Carried serious risks of tissue damage and nervous system fatigue that would make modern trainers hesitate. The intensity of Lee's isometric training was almost frightening to witness. He would push against concrete walls relentlessly until his muscles visibly trembled and shook, far beyond what most would consider the point of failure. During these sessions, he'd hold strenuous positions until complete muscular failure occurred, often pushing through the burning sensation that would cause others to stop. Perhaps most daringly, he would attempt to lift what he knew were impossible weights, engaging in what he called overcoming isometrics, applying maximum force against an immovable object. This method wasn't just about physical strength. It was about pushing past mental barriers that typically limit human performance. Lee believed that by forcing his muscles to work against unmovable resistance, he could recruit more muscle fibers than traditional training methods allowed.
Before I let you go, we are approaching the 40th anniversary that involved one Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. Put that photo up. And I want to ask the captain about this photo almost 40 years later. Tell me, what do you recall about this almost 40 years ago?
Oh, that's my first trip to Hong Kong with my good friend Bruce Lee. He said, come on, we're going to make a movie. You can be the villain. I said, sure. Why not? And I flew over to Hong Kong, and I was the villain. And that ended up being the last movie that he made.
Yeah, it's a great photo, though.
Oh, yeah, it was fun working with Bruce. He was a great guy.
Would often incorporate these isometric holds into his regular training, creating a unique hybrid system that challenged his body in ways that hadn't been seen before in martial arts training. The risk of injury was always present, but Lee believed the potential benefits outweighed the dangers, even though this method of training placed enormous stress on his nervous system and connective tissues. Speed training techniques of Bruce Lee. Lee's speed training methods were particularly alarming even by today's advanced training standards. He believed in pushing his movements to superhuman velocities, often training at speeds that made his contemporaries nervous about the risk of serious injury. His approach to speed development was revolutionary but dangerous, combining elements that most trainers would hesitate to put together. At the core of his speed training was an almost obsessive focus on explosive power. He would practice punches with explosive resistance, using specialized equipment and rubber bands to create tension that fought against his lightning-fast strikes. This wasn't just about throwing fast punches. Lee would perform every exercise at maximum velocity, whether it was bodyweight movements, weight training, or martial arts techniques. He believed that training at anything less than maximum speed was a waste of precious training time. What made his speed training even more intense was his use of weighted clothing during these high-velocity drills. While others might use weights for strength training, Lee would wear them during speed work, creating a dangerous but effective combination that forced his muscles to adapt to both resistance and velocity simultaneously. Perhaps most remarkably, he would train multiple muscle groups at high speeds simultaneously, coordinating complex movements that challenged both his nervous system and muscular control. This integrated approach to speed training was years ahead of its time, but it came with significant risks that modern sports science has only recently begun to understand. The 1965 fight with Wong Jack Man marked a dramatic turning point in Lee's training approach. After this legendary confrontation, Lee realized his conditioning needed to reach even more extreme levels. This led to a complete overhaul of his training methods, pushing him to gain 25 pounds of muscle while maintaining his legendary speed. Lee's daily training routine was nothing short of punishing, stretching from early morning until late evening in a relentless pursuit of martial arts perfection. His day would begin at the crack of dawn, with the morning session running from 5 a.m. to 11 a.m. This grueling start included a challenging 5-mile run while wearing a weighted vest, pushing his cardiovascular system to its limits before most people had even started their day. Following this, he would dedicate 2 intense hours to technical martial arts practice, meticulously refining his movements and techniques. The morning session would continue with an hour of specialized strength training, culminating in core conditioning exercises performed until complete muscle failure. The afternoon session, running from 2 p.m. to 5 p.m., focused on explosive power and speed development. During these hours, Lee would engage in intensive speed training drills, followed by power development exercises that pushed the boundaries of human performance. He would then move on to skill-specific practice, honing the techniques that would later become legendary in martial arts circles. The afternoon would conclude with his notorious isometric training, where he would push his muscles to their absolute limits through static holds and resistance work. As evening approached, rather than winding down, Lee would begin his final training block from 7 p.m. to 10 p.m. This session took on a more holistic approach, combining additional physical conditioning with mental development. He would engage in supplementary conditioning work, followed by dedicated mental training sessions. The evening would also include deep philosophical study, as Lee believed that mental acuity was just as important as physical prowess. The day would conclude with technique refinement, where he would perfect the movements and combinations he had practiced earlier, often working well into the night to achieve the precision he demanded of himself. What set Lee apart was his scientific approach to training. He studied anatomy, physics, and biomechanics to understand how to push human performance to its absolute limits. He maintained detailed records of his experiments with different training methods, often using himself as a test subject for dangerous new techniques. Perhaps no exercise better exemplifies Lee's extreme approach than the dragon flag. This core exercise, which he helped popularize, requires extraordinary strength and control. Lying back on a bench, supporting only the upper shoulders, the entire body is raised and lowered as one rigid unit, a move that tests the absolute limits of human core strength. Lee's cardiovascular training was equally intense. He developed a system that combined high-intensity interval training, weighted endurance work, combat-specific conditioning, progressive overload principles. He structured his cardio like boxing rounds, but with a crucial difference. He would gradually increase both the intensity and duration, pushing his heart and lungs to their absolute limits. Bruce Lee's approach transcended mere physical training, embracing a comprehensive fusion of Eastern philosophy and Western psychology. However, modern sports medicine has identified serious risks in his methods, including nervous system burnout, joint damage, and cardiovascular strain. Today's athletes have wisely modified his techniques, incorporating structured progression systems, improved recovery protocols, and scientific monitoring. Despite these risks, Lee's revolutionary methods transformed martial arts forever. His willingness to break traditional boundaries while merging physical and mental disciplines created the foundation for modern mixed martial arts and cross-training approaches, cementing his lasting legacy in combat sports. Bruce Lee's training secrets reveal both the potential and dangers of pushing human limits. While his methods produced extraordinary results, they came with significant risks. His legacy teaches us that greatness often requires walking a dangerous line between innovation and recklessness. What do you think about Bruce Lee's extreme training methods? Would you try any of these techniques?
My name is Danny Coker, D-A-N-N-Y, last name K-O-K-E-R, nickname Count, C-O-U-N-T, owner of Count's Customs, and Customs is with a K, K-U-S-T-O-M-S. We find ourselves occasionally standing around going, you know what? Where were we this time last year? And we'd look back and we're like, wow, we've come miles and miles, leaps and bounds over last year. And then it's a game of, I wonder where we're going to be a year from today.
Danny Coker, the star of History Channel's Counting Cars, left fans stunned when news broke about his struggle with drug addiction and his recent 30-day jail sentence. This shocking revelation rocked the fan base, who admired him as the talented car expert capable of turning any old vehicle into a masterpiece. Now, even more surprising details about Danny Coker are emerging. Let's take a close look. The story starts long before the fame and legal troubles. Born in Cleveland, Ohio on January 5, 1964, Danny's story goes far beyond this difficult moment. Growing up with a father who worked at Ford Motor Company, he was surrounded by cars from his earliest days. His father noticed young Danny's interest and gave him his first car, a cruiser, a gift that would change his life forever. Cars weren't Danny's only early influence. Music played a huge role in his family life. His father performed with famous gospel groups and led the Coker family singers. Danny shared this talent, even performing at Carnegie Hall at just 11 years old. These two passions, cars and music, would shape his entire future. During high school, Danny learned about cars by watching his father work. Instead of spending time in regular classes, he preferred taking things apart and putting them back together. This hands-on learning taught him skills that no classroom could match.
The balance between Count's Customs and the music, it's a challenge, but it's worthwhile because the music really feeds my soul. My band, Count 77, is an absolute wonderful group of guys. It's all the original guys from day one. The band is over 8 years old now. We've got 3 records out.
His life took an interesting turn when his father bought Channel 33, a Las Vegas TV station. Danny appeared in horror movies as Count Cool Rider, getting his first experience in front of cameras, but cars remained his true love. and his big breakthrough came with a 1979 Camaro Z28. He rebuilt it completely into a street-style race car, showing what he could really do.
And quite a few years back, I was doing a television show based out of Las Vegas, which was a crazy late-night horror show, and I would incorporate the motorcycle into the show. So in the open of the show, the character's a vampire. The character, his name was Count Cool Riders, which was CC Rider, which was Elvis's theme song. So he was the biggest unliving Elvis fan out of Las Vegas, a vampire in Vegas that loved the king. We incorporated motorcycles into the show. So in the open of the show, you'll see the Count, the character, riding his chopper through the open of the show. And then, of course, throughout the show, we used the bike quite a few times. The biker, vampire, crazy guy image really drew in kind of a very cool audience, quite a mix of people.
The success of the Camaro project led Danny to open Count's tattoo company, mixing his love for cars and tattoos. Later came Count's Customs, which would become his main business and eventually lead to TV fame.
Hi, my name's Danny Coker. My friends call me Count. It's a nickname that goes back for years now. And you're sitting in my shop. This is Count's Customs. We're right here in the heart of Las Vegas, and we build crazy choppers.
Rick Harrison from Pawn Stars noticed Danny's incredible knowledge of cars. Danny started appearing on the show as their car expert, showing millions of viewers what he knew about classic vehicles. This exposure led to something bigger, his own show, Counting Cars, starting in 2012. The show became huge. One episode showed Danny's warehouse holding 1,500 cars. Famous musicians like Alice Cooper, Tommy Lee, and Ozzy Osbourne came to Count's Customs to work on their vehicles.
I was on the air a little over 10 years. Throughout my television career, I've been very heavily into, as far as the hobby is concerned, into collecting cars, love cars, and motorcycles. So throughout the television career over here, I'm working over here. My hobby is growing over here on the other side of the coin. And more cars are getting added to the collection, motorcycles getting added to the collection. And it grew to such a proportion that I needed to get my own facility to house the vehicles and keep them in good condition. And I had hired a mechanic at that time who was keeping an eye on my collection at that time. But after a while, started to get out of the television business, although I'm still...
Everything seemed perfect until problems started appearing. But wait, there is more.
What's going on, everybody? Danny Coker here, a.k.a. The Count. I'm in Kansas City, baby. I am here at the Ally booth. We are here for a beautiful NASCAR race. Number 48, Alex Bowman. Come on, man. Let's have some fun today.
First came a $50,000 lawsuit from unhappy customers about work on their Mustang. While that got settled, a more serious issue came up in 2017. A $75,000 lawsuit involving drugs. The investigation revealed Danny's struggle with addiction, leading to jail time. This news hit hard for everyone who watched the show. The cool, confident car expert they saw on TV was fighting personal battles nobody knew about. People worried about what would happen to Counting Cars and Count's Customs. Through this difficult time, Danny's wife, Corey, stayed by his side. She helped run their businesses, especially Count's Vamp D, their rock club in Las Vegas. Despite rumors about marriage problems and Corey's health issues, they stayed strong together. Music helped Danny through the tough times. At Count's Vamped, he started the band Count 77. What began as casual playing turned serious, and their first album made it into Blues Rock Review's top 20 albums of 2014.
Rockers everywhere, crazy people screaming with their hands up in the air. Let the rockin' do the talking. Let the music soothe your soul.
After 10 seasons and 184 episodes, Counting Cars ended in 2021. But Danny didn't stop working. He kept Count's Customs going strong and added a museum where fans can take free tours to see famous cars from the show. This shows how much he cares about sharing his work with people who support him. Each car in Danny's collection tells its own story. He owns over 100 vehicles now, including 70 motorcycles and 55 cars. Some came from his father, who passed away in 2008, keeping his family's car legacy alive. Others he built himself, showing how far he's come as a builder. Some of his most famous work includes the 1968 Bullitt Mustang from the show's first episode. Rick Harrison brought this rough Mustang in, wanting it turned into something special on a tight budget. Danny and his team made it happen, starting the show's success story. But wait, there is more. Another special project was Sparkles 2.
Grew to such a magnitude that I basically got out of broadcasting television and got deeply involved into the hobby of the cars and the motorcycles. What had happened, the evolution of the hobby into the technically the business of it all, was the fact that the collection grew to a magnitude that I needed someone to work on them on a regular basis.
A dune buggy that showed Danny could work on more than just muscle cars. The team gave it a special blue paint job and used Mustang taillights to make it unique. They also transformed a 1962 VW Karmann Ghia into a beautiful gift for a crew member's wife, painting it glossy red and adding classic chrome wheels. The 1955 Chevrolet Gasser stands out among Danny's builds. The team added detailed pinstripe paint and a powerful V8 engine, making it both beautiful and fast. These projects show how Danny and his team could handle any kind of car that came through their doors. Today, Counts Customs stays busy with both famous and regular customers. Danny kept his team together after the TV show ended, maintaining the high standards that made them famous. The shop looks different now with new technology, but the attention to detail remains the same. The museum at Counts Customs has become special for fans. People can walk through and see cars from famous episodes, learning about each one's story. Danny often meets visitors there, showing he hasn't forgotten the people who helped make him successful. Counts Vamped, the rock club Danny runs with Corey, brings live music to Las Vegas most nights. Sometimes Danny performs there with Count 77, still mixing his love for cars and music. The club shows how he successfully brought his two passions together. Danny stays active on social media, but only through one official Twitter account. He warns fans about fake accounts using his name, showing he wants to protect people from scams. This care for his supporters has helped him keep a strong connection with fans, even after the show ended. At Counts Customs, Danny teaches young mechanics the same way he learned. By doing the work, he passes on what his father taught him, helping create new car builders who understand both old and new techniques. This teaching keeps the craft of custom car building alive. The relationship between Danny and Corey proves how important good support can be. Through running multiple businesses, dealing with fame, and overcoming personal problems, they've stayed together. Their partnership shows that success takes more than just one person's work. Danny's honesty about his past troubles has helped others facing similar challenges. By sharing his story of addiction and recovery, he showed people can overcome their problems and come back stronger. His openness turned a difficult time into something that could help others. The free tours at Counts Customs do more than display cars. They give people a chance to see how custom car work happens, learn about automotive history, and sometimes meet Danny himself. It's his way of giving back to the community that supported him. Danny's current worth of $4 million came from years of hard work, not just TV fame. He built his businesses carefully, making sure they would last after the cameras stopped rolling. His story shows that real success takes time and smart planning. Looking ahead, Danny focuses on keeping his businesses strong and helping others learn about cars. While he's not on TV weekly anymore, his influence on car culture continues. His work proves that passion, skill, and determination can overcome any challenge. Through all life's changes, Danny kept his love for cars that started in childhood. Whether working on customer vehicles, performing with his band, or running his businesses, he brings the same enthusiasm that made him famous. His story continues to inspire people who want to turn their own passions into success. What makes Danny special isn't just what he achieved, but how he handled both good and bad times. He showed that being honest about mistakes and working to fix them matters more than looking perfect. His journey proves that second chances work when you're willing to work for them. Today, Danny keeps building his car world legacy. He might not have finished high school the usual way, but he built something lasting through hard work and determination. His story shows there are many paths to success, and it's never too late to follow your dreams.